This is every hybrid devil in Chainsaw Man. In the world of Chainsaw Man, you're either a regular old human, doing whatever it is that humans do, or you're a bloodthirsty devil, feeding on the aforementioned humans any chance you get. However, there is an exception to this. There exists a select few individuals who can neither claim to be a human or a devil, and possess some of the most broken abilities in the entire series. They're born after a devil replaces the heart of a human, making them immortal and granting them some serious devil powers. I'm of course referring to the hybrid devils, with our boy Denji actually being one of them. However, he's not the only hybrid we've seen in Chainsaw Man, so today I'll be naming and explaining each hybrid devil we've seen in the series so far, and on top of that, I'll close things out with a never before seen hybrid devil that we'll be seeing in the story very soon. Very exciting stuff. So with that being said, let's get right into it. So before we kick off the list, I think it's worth quickly explaining what a hybrid devil even is. If you're already familiar with them, go ahead and skip to the timestamp you see on the screen right now to get right into the list. In rare cases, a human can be fused with the devil and turn into a hybrid. The only known method of becoming a hybrid right now is via a contract, much like what Denji did, or by surgery in which the devil replaces the human's heart. This was the case with Katana Man and Rize. The hybrid's heart therefore becomes both their source of power and their weakness, seeing as how destroying the heart is really the only way to actually fully kill a hybrid devil. Unlike fiends, hybrids keep their human consciousness and appearance, but can transform into human devil hybrids through a trigger and manifest the supernatural abilities of their fused devils. Meaning whatever ability the devil had that's making up the human's heart, the hybrid now has the abilities of that devil, although possibly a little watered down. When transformed, the head and in many cases the arms are affected, while the rest of the body remains human, though their appearance varies from hybrid to hybrid. Many of them take on this like metallic, steampunk appearance, and weirdly all of them lack lips. Really unimportant detail, but I thought I'd throw that in there. When they're not transformed into devils, they are, with the exception of their triggers, indistinguishable from regular humans, unlike fiends who show traits of the devil that's possessing them on their heads. Speaking of triggers, each hybrid has their own unique one that they can use to activate their devil form. It's also worth noting that the actual name that refers to these hybrids was eaten by Chainsaw Man, yet they still remain alive. It's kind of confusing to think about, but essentially the name that actually referred to the phenomena now known as devil hybrids was erased from existence, but the devil hybrids themselves still survived for unexplained reasons. If you're still confused, don't worry, it really isn't that important quite yet, so just keep that in the back of your mind for now. Along with their specific devil powers, they also have the standard devil abilities of regenerating after consuming blood, and also are immune to certain devil abilities like the zombie or doll devil powers to take control of regular humans. Well, now that we have a good idea of what a devil hybrid is, let's start with the first one introduced into the series other than Denji, which of course is Katana Man. Katana Man was created after his heart was replaced surgically with the Katana Devil. His grandfather was the mob boss that actually killed Denji in the first episode of the anime, and because of that, he teamed up with Sawatari to get revenge on Denji and steal his heart. By removing his left hand from his body and revealing a katana which emerges from the stump of his hand, he can transform into the Katana Hybrid, with swords emerging from his arms and his head. Removing the katana from his arm will undo the transformation, and after his transformation is undone, he's unable to fight for a while, which is also noteworthy because he seems to be the only hybrid we know of that needs a time between transformations to regain his energy. Katana Man's special technique is a quick draw sword technique, also known as Iajitsu. I might be butchering the name, I'm sorry, but I did my best. By crouching down low and preparing to unleash his swords, Katana Man can dash forward at incredible speeds and slash his opponent as he goes by them, often appearing to simply teleport past them before his attacks even appear on their opponent's body. Katana Man moves faster than the average human eye can see, and he can use this technique multiple times in a row without any apparent drawback. Next up, we have a fan favorite, Rize, aka Bomb Girl. Bomb Girl is a fusion of Rize and the Bomb Devil, and was created in the Soviet Union with the specific goal to obtain Denji's heart. Not only was she Denji's first major love interest, she was also the first hybrid we see to use her powers creatively to make several clever abilities. By pulling a pin on her neck, much like a grenade, Rize can cause herself to explode explode and transform into a hybrid form. She can also perform a technique where she transforms, but instead of a regular transformation, she blows her head off and leaves the rest of her body as a decoy to distract her opponents. This decoy can hold its own head and throw it, and she can use her own head to explode like a bomb and can also lead to a full-on transformation. The headless decoy body can also be controlled autonomously and acts as another bomb for Rize to use. In general, Rize has the ability to create explosions, which is pretty self-explanatory with the name Bomb Girl. However, the explosions are powerful enough to destroy vehicles, buildings, and asphalt roads. Rize does not take any damage from her own explosions, allowing her to use her powers without worrying about harming herself. By releasing explosions from her arms and legs, Rize can enhance her physical attacks and mobility with the explosive force of the blasts. She can also travel through the air by causing continuous consecutive explosions, being capable of even keeping up with cars. Think about the way that Bakugo moves around in My Hero Academia, it's pretty much the same thing. She also has other abilities like being able to flick a spark at long distances that creates a massive explosion on impact, and also has the ability to straight up turn her limbs into torpedoes. Her main weakness is that she can't produce explosions if she's completely wet, which is how Denji actually manages to defeat her. After Rize, we have yet another broken female character, Quan Chi. Quan Chi is a former partner of Kishibe in his younger years and is renowned as the first devil hunter. She seemed to be a very stoic and pragmatic person. Essentially, she does what she needs to do and openly admits to preferring complete ignorance on things that might inconvenience her and her harem of fiends. Her fiends are the only beings she seems to show any type of affection towards, as her conditions for capturing Denji's heart was simply to allow her fiends to have human rights and have a proper education. I don't know, she's always given me like a Batman vibe, but if Batman actually killed people. In her base form, she has superhuman strength and agility on top of her high battle IQ. Quan Chi is fused with the crossbow devil, creating the crossbow hybrid. She transforms by pulling an arrow out of her eye socket and has the ability to shoot dozens of hardened arrows at a target from long range. At close range, she shoots a buckshot of arrows that covers her targets instantly. She really has no apparent weaknesses to her form, other than messing with her psychologically by taking one of her fiends hostage or something like that. So after Quan Chi, this is where we get into Makima's team of hybrids, aka Special Division 5. Technically, the 3 prior hybrids I just described are a part of this team, but the other 4 have very little that we know about them, although what we do know makes them very interesting. That being said though, starting with probably the least interesting hybrid in Special Division 5, we have the Longsword hybrid. He seems to be an average looking guy in his 20s that seems to be on like the laid back side of things with his disheveled hair. Other than that, he's essentially a Katana Man ripoff because they have a very similar design, they have the same trigger that activates their hybrid form, and both gain their powers from sword devils. Pretty much a copy and paste. He's pretty much like an American version of the Katana Man. Another hybrid that was pretty underwhelming in my opinion is the Spear hybrid, who seems to have the ability to create and launch spears from his body, with his trigger being that he pulls a spear out of his spine. The reason I find him kind of redundant is because he's pretty much a weaker version of Quan Chi. Yeah, his spears are bigger and possibly stronger than Quan Chi's arrows, but they essentially do the same job, and it seems like Quan Chi can dish out way more arrows than he can dish out spears. He's a pretty average looking dude, so again, I think he's pretty redundant to the story in general in my opinion. But now moving on to someone I actually do think has an interesting hybrid concept is the Whip hybrid. I'm not sure if this is a woman or a guy, but regardless, their trigger to activate their hybrid powers is by snapping their fingers. For the brief time that we saw them, we only saw the Whip hybrid use its whips for hands to attack Denji, but I'd assume that they can also have the ability to make their whips longer in order to pull targets in from longer distances. Considering the superhuman strength of hybrids, you could imagine that a strike from one of the whips from this Whip hybrid would be enough to easily slice right through a human. Along with that, I've always been a fan of the types of powers where you can pretty much like elongate your limbs or use other additional limbs to reach for stuff at long distances. Think of like the Black Whip from My Hero Academia or the mechanical arms of Dr. Octopus. The last but certainly not least hybrid in Special Division 5 is of course the Flamethrower hybrid. I think his design and hybrid concept is one of the best of the entire bunch, if not the best, and his long hair and earrings in his human form reminds me of Vincent Vega from Pulp Fiction. If you know Fujimoto, you know that he loves Tarantino films, including Pulp Fiction, so I wouldn't be surprised if his character design was inspired by him. His trigger seems to be pulling out one of his teeth, but it's kind of hard to tell from his only known transformation that we see. He has flamethrowers for arms, which for one is every 7-year-old's dream when they're pretend fighting with their friends, but in regards to the manga, actually pack quite a punch. In his fight with Pochita in his full-on Chainsaw Man form, we see that he has enough firepower to blow up an entire building and probably has the potential to do even more. All of Special Division 5's weakness seems to be Pochita in his full-on Chainsaw Man form because he straight up shredded them completely all at once. That wraps up the devils that we've seen in part 1, but like I said at the top of the video, there is one devil hybrid that has a very good chance of showing up in part 2. I'd even go as far as to say that it'll show up in the next few chapters. The new hybrid in question will be the gun hybrid. Yeah, you heard me right. After being almost killed by Makima, the gun devil possessed Aki's body, who then went on to go on a total rampage before Denji unfortunately had to be the one to put him down for good. Well, in part 2, there's a good chance that Denji will run into the gun devil again. Currently in the manga, Denji has seemingly returned to hell in order to save Asa, and seeing as how the gun devil was killed on Earth in part 1, it would make sense that it's now residing in hell. The door that's currently Denji's only way back to Earth might be an escape route for this newly formed gun devil, and considering the fact that the famine devil is setting herself up to be the next Makima, she might take this as an opportunity to place this ultra powerful devil into a human in order to use them against Asa and Yoru. This way we get to see the gun devil fight again, but of course again it's nerfed like it was in Aki, because I mean, let's be real here, even if Yoru and Denji teamed up against the gun devil, they stand absolutely no chance against this pure devil form. Devil hybrids are certainly the most interesting and super hyped aspects of Chainsaw Man, and it's not yet certain when the next one will appear, but what we do know is that when a new hybrid finally bursts onto the scene, Denji is gonna be in some serious trouble.